Welcome back to the third installment of The Legend of Paul Crewe and his Bandit Prisoner Recruit Only run. For those of you who just landed yourself into the middle of this playthrough and are wondering what the heck is going on, the link to the first video is in the video description below. We pick back up in the middle of a war with the Western Empire. Paul has amassed a retinue of over 150 high-tier bandits. He commands a treasure hoard of over 500,000 dinars, and is now accompanied by 3 well-armed elite companions capable of augmenting his own leadership in the field. His force being over 50% cavalry, Paul consistently travels at a party speed in the high fives, and as a result, Paul really has no trouble chasing down enemy lords. His turnover rate between battles has also been pretty consistently high due to minimal losses on Paul's end. You see, the overwhelming wave of highwaymen preceded by a sky-blackening curtain of javelins should be enough to completely turn the tide of battle in the first moments as it is, but those troops benefit from all the perks of having an accomplished horse skirmisher like Paul in command, as he leads the bloated cavalry division of Mean Machine personally. Really, at this point, tactics has very little to do with it. Western Empire lords can't run because Paul can close the distance between them faster than they can even see him traveling towards them on the map. From there, Paul points 80 felons in the right direction and says charge. I'm not complaining, but our newfound competence has definitely added to the tedium of Paul's grind towards independence. Paul decided to enlist in Ragnvald's army in hopes to shake things up, but I guess that was enough to scare Garrios into surrendering. We did manage to make almost 700 grand before the end of the war, but balancing our peacetime budget is always a bit worrying. We clear bandit hideouts in search of lucrative tier 5 bandit bosses and fight a few tournaments with our companions to pass the time. With the pressure off, it really isn't the worst thing for the party to idle and rebuild a bit. I've been able to focus on putting our companions in situations where they will be guaranteed to earn levels and gain perks. The more perks and skill points they gain now, the better they will function as party leaders in the future. We will need them when the time comes to strike out on our own. In a stroke of luck, Ragnvald declares war on the Flandians again, so we pack up and march east. We meet up with Torvir's army outside of Battania and lay siege to the city of Legida. Paul set out the siege because in the time it took for Paul to plot across the map, Flandia took Legida from the Sturgians. It was only being defended by a skeleton crew of a garrison. Shortly after that, Torvir decided to siege Ortizia. This might have been hubris that caused me to press the send troops button. This city was much better defended and we took 20 casualties. That probably could have been mitigated by playing a more direct role in the conflict, but que sera. We have enough prisoners willing to join our cause to get back to our troop limit, so immediately following the battle we replenished the rank and file. Paul pressed into Flandian territory in search of some lords to take prisoner. No immediate luck, so raiding villages it is. After looking into it a bit, it sounds like raiding villages actually will have an impact on the enemy war effort. The town or castle that a village is attached to gets an income for each village under its purview. If a town is raided, that income stops and the enemy faction parties cannot recruit troops there for a while. According to one Reddit user, it also impacts the AI of the faction parties that own the villages, but I haven't been able to find anything to substantiate that. I guess Garrios had second thoughts about making peace with Sturgia because he declared war on them again. We are now fighting a two-front war with enemy territory to the east and west of the strip of land Torvir just conquered. Did someone say target-rich environment? We start encountering parties left and right as soon as we hit the edges of Western Empire territory. This Western Empire party was put down quickly. They had mostly tier 1 and tier 2 troops, which our highwaymen mowed down with no casualties. Archon Serratus, welcome to the Chain Gang. Next was Mitch of the Wolfskins, so called because he wears the skin of a wolf. He and his pelt-wearing hillbilly friends were unceremoniously defeated, and Mitch was taken into custody. Maloob of the Bene Zalal wasn't slippery enough to evade the Mean Machine, and so we added a mysterious Assassin's Creed-looking guy to our collection. Archon Disporian was next. During the battle, I couldn't help but notice how absolutely blinged out Disporian was. In my headcanon, he's basically the Kanye West of Calradia. We beat him, and we took Yezius here prisoner. This next guy is a Gilmon. The in-game lore behind the Gilmon is basically that these guys sold themselves into slavery to the collective that they have now joined by being purchased, and in doing so, become part owner of themselves and everyone else. It's confusing, I know. It sounds like a nightmare to figure out who's in charge, but Hakura is going to have to take one for the team. Oh, and sweet bonus, we freed a Sturgian guy. Ooh, look, somebody else bedazzled their hat. Let's see if it still works. Form over function, I see. Straight to jail. A Moor State Penitentiary to be specific. We plop all 8 lords in the dungeon for a tidy 66 brownie points, bringing our grand total to 136 influence on top of our now nearly 900,000 gold treasure trove. Paul sells his pile of Empire junk and heads west towards the Flandian front. He runs into his old friend Alwith from last episode and proceeds to sack her party and kidnap her for Sturgia. Just like old times. Mean Machine then chased down 2 lords at the same time. Both parties combined were still outnumbered. Paul took Ekaran down personally and then added insult to injury by unhorsing his flag boy while he ran in terror. This victory is a good sign for the Crewe clan. I'm starting to think that we're ready to strike out on our own. On our way back to ransom our prisoners to the Sturgians, the Blandians make peace. It's mildly annoying, but we're so in the green at this point it really doesn't matter. Besides, war with the Western Empire is still on. Before Sturgia loses its most accomplished mercenary, I'd like to pad the bank a bit more. So more lord napping it is for the time being. I'll be brief. Melkia and her party of 56 were wiped out with no casualties. Paul didn't even have to join the battle. Archon Apis was next to face us, so we rearranged his face with a throwing spear. We took 1 casualty. Dashwal of the Jawal had to face down 300 troops with his 50-something camel boys. It didn't go well for him. 2 casualties for the Mean Machine. Then we had a twofer. Achios and Sovos teamed up to lose to our superior numbers. We took 14 casualties, but I'm calling it 7 considering we got 2 high-value prisoners. Ovagos was the next target. His party was mostly spear-armed infantry, but all in all it was an easy win with 12 casualties. Yidwin was next. We stabbed his smelly wolves and took him prisoner. No casualties this time. Altanos and Joculos at the same time? 2 lords, 1 chalice, as it were. That'll be 2 casualties for us and 2 more prisoners to turn over to the Sturgians. We ran into an enemy while heading through a narrow mountain pass. Fortunately, an allied army was nearby. We tagged in with them just long enough to maneuver into open field. We almost took off before noticing another allied army marching south that appeared intent on meeting the Western Empire in the field. Never one to miss an opportunity for murder, Paul tagged in. Paul took a slot captaining the mounted archers. His high riding skill will still benefit this element even if his bow skill is abysmal. Paul desperately needs leadership experience, so obeying the directives of the army commander instead of going on a rampage is the goal. We still get some cool kills though, and we take no casualties to boot. Ocharos joins the prison column and we get a whole bunch of loot to sell later. We drop it all off at Epikrotia for just under 100 grand, bringing our grand total to 1.3 million dinars. After that, we go straight north back to Omor State Penitentiary to trade 8 more prisoners for 56 influence. The Western Empire and Sturgia make peace again not too long after we drop our prisoners off. Lucan of the Northern Empire immediately turns around and declares war on Sturgia though, so there are still plenty of fancy lords to hunt if we keep working for the Sturgians. If we're being honest with ourselves, we have outgrown the pirate's life. We have some fledgling companions who really need to begin leading their own parties to progress much further. Even if money will be tight at first, we have enough gold in our coffers to eke out a living through workshops and caravans if we put in the time. So the Crewe clan leaves behind the Sturgians and ventures forth into a whole new world of opportunity. The first step on our journey to legitimacy as an independent clan requires us to meet with some folks about the relic we found in the first episode. This guy Azagos lives in Marinath back in Britannia, so let's go hear what he has to say.
Hi. Sorry, I don't think I know you.
I am Paul, and who are you?
You probably are aware that I am Azagos. I'm not sure why you have sought me out, but know that my old life as an Imperial lapdog is over. So, who are you, and what brings you to me?
I believe I have a piece of the dragon banner of Calradios.
Is that true? Well, that is interesting. You may have one piece of the banner, but it's of little use in itself. You'll have to find the other parts. But once you can bring together the pieces, you'll have something of tremendous value.
How so?
The banner of Calradios is part of a legend. It was said to be carried by Calradios the Great.
Now it's going to be carried by Paul the Great.
I have vowed that this empire shall not survive this civil war if I can do anything to stop it. And believe me, if I had that banner, there is very much something I could do.
Yeah, I'm all about watching the world burn.
When you have recovered all pieces, return to...
Yeah, find the banner pieces, bring it to you. I think we can handle it from here. The banner piece can be acquired from a nearby hideout. How convenient. Then we head to Epikrotia and basically repeat the same process with Estania. She says all the same stuff in her quest, but with a pro-Empire stance instead of the live free or die take that Azagos had. We defeat this guy and finally acquire the 3rd piece of the dragon banner. Mean Machine finally has a battle standard worthy of its accomplishments. We return to Azagos with our new flag and he bestows upon Paul Crewe the title of Bannerlord.
Allow me to call you Bannerlord.
I did not expect a title drop. That usually means the lore is about as fleshed out as it's going to get. We'll pick back up with the main quest later. With our newfound independence, we need to establish a number of war bands with our companions and family members to aid us in the daunting task of taking the capital city. On top of that, we need logistics-oriented parties to form caravans and help us support the intense financial load that funding multiple war parties will create. Once again, Paul has his work cut out for him. But that's all for this video. Next segment will address the growing number of needs that the Crewe clan faces and hopefully start down the path of turning our independent faction into its own kingdom. Like and subscribe if you want to see more of the Crewe clan as they become a serious fixture in Calradia. I had a blast making this episode. I'm learning all sorts of stuff every day that I work on this project. If you have any feedback, recommendations, or just want to say what's up, please leave me a comment down below. For those of you wondering, by this point in the series, we're just over 22 hours of actual gameplay into Paul Crewe's adventure. Sifting through that footage and turning it into something coherent, not to mention engaging, well, it's been like drinking from a fire hose trying to learn everything at once. Even still, I find myself excited to get started every day when I get home from my real job. I sincerely thank you for watching. It's very affirming to know that people find my work entertaining. I'll see you all in the next one.